there is this huge myth, really, about Native Americans, and we're all very religious, and we love the earth, and all these sort of mythologies that have been born around the sort of noble savage idea. But the reality is that this land, which is really called Semanawak in the Nahuatl. Semanawak means the Americas. That's what it was called before it was called the Americas, Semanawak. In Semanawak, there are literally millions and millions of Indians who are ashamed to be Indians, who have been colonized to the point where they do not recognize their own indigenous identity, or they reject it, or they have lost it to history. Okay? History, in a sense, if you imagine the repository of all knowledge being in a tribal community, as those members die, this whole community falls apart. Their libraries, their social systems, their the rulers, everybody dies off, and you're left with sort of a wandering group of people. And so this poem sort of tries to tear away that myth of the sacred Indian, of the Indian who's always belonging to a tribe. It's called Death of an Indian. The old man was an Indian. He said it to me many times. Growing up in his house once, when I pressed him for a tribe, he said he didn't know, but most likely he was Nicaragua, a Nahuatl-speaking tribe that fled the conquering, sacrificing Aztecs deep into Nicaragua, only to be nearly exterminated by European diseases that left them tribeless. His great-great-grandfathers, who survived, barely survived, Nahuatl-less under European enslavement, until 1918 sent my grandfather fleeing that American imperialism. He jumped a train north, and like a good Indian, he joined the U.S. Army, fought for the Germans, forged steel, fought the Germans for America, forged steel in Chicago, mined coal in New Mexico, but he was denied U.S. citizenship because he was an Indian without a tribe in Jim Crow, Texas. And as a union organizer, he was charged with being a communist, blacklisted. He couldn't get another job. He started drinking. Drinking like anyone who will do when beaten, when his American children, seeing him defeated, fled from him, blamed him for their poverty. They became conservatives, supporters of the people who had tried to exterminate him. He's buried in a U.S. Army cemetery, the only tribe he ever knew. This last poem is also of a library, and it's totally sort of, the idea in this poem is exactly what I was said earlier, or I don't know whether they're quoting me or what, but dreams are in a sense, myth is in a sense a kind of an emotional experience. That's what myth in the end is. It's taking something that happened and making it appear real through your emotions. Stirring the emotions up through various images, especially through the use of archetypes. And this poem attempts to sort of reach into the archetypal part of your mind in a way that how can I say it? Most of us don't recognize, that we're being tapped, if you will. That parts of our brain is being used in a sense to ignite these sort of ideas and experiences. So it's called The Library of Lost Souls. It's a place where dreams are kept, and your life is a book. And you've been looking, in your life is a book you've been looking for. And you find it on a dusty shelf, but never seem to have enough time to finish reading the story. You know well what's written in there. It's an old tale you overheard recited in another dream, as if it wasn't you who it spoke of. Though you recognize the details of your life as you turn the pages, you keep seeing the face of someone you've often passed by in other dreams. A face whose instant recognition dream ports you back to a childhood memory where you are ashamed because you lost something important, an object, a message, something meant never to be forgotten, and you've been looking for it ever since. In book-filled rooms where bindings lack titles or names, where your story remains enwombed, and where tonight you may find it again, only to lose it as you awake. Thank you very much.